Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Ormark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we are going to start doing, now we're into November, we're going to do a series of homemade Christmas. So there are all sorts of ideas for you that you can take and change as you want, but ideas of little gifts, presents, tags, all sorts of things for Christmas. So I thought for number one, we'd start with Gnome for the holidays. Really cute little set which will work beautifully for children, youngsters, adults, in fact, anybody that wants something a little bit fun for Christmas. You've got holly jolly everything, you've got these lovely little gnomes, and you've got a little gnome house as well. So we're going to make a box which is, it will hold 3 by 3 cards. However, you can also make it for tags. So let me get my scoring board out first of all and make sure that it is, yeah, that's just about in shot for you so you can see. So we need a piece of Sahara sand. I've already scored this, but if we take the Sahara sand and it is, right, let's take it this way. So it measures 11 inches by 7.5. Whoops, let's get it back into the corner. 7.5 inches. Okay, so 11 inches by 7.5 inches. I will put all the dimensions down below for you, so don't worry too much about it. Now, we are going to score it. Let me just get it on the right side of here. So we need to score it on, let me find out where I did my measurements on here. I think I did them on here. Right, okay. So on the 11-inch side, we are going to score it at 3.5 inches. I've already done the scoring, so it doesn't matter. 3.5 inches. 5.25 inches, 8.75 inches, and 10.5 inches. Then we're going to turn it onto the short side. So that's the 7.5 inch side, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. You're going to score it at, hold on, let me just do it the other way round. Right, I'm going to do it this way round because that's the way I did it. So you're on the 7.5 inch, you're going to score it at 1.75 inches. You're then going to score it at 5.25 inches, and then you're going to score it at 7 inches. So that's 1.75, 5.25, and 7 inches. Okay, so that's all the scoring that we need to do. So let me move that out of the way. I did it beforehand only to save a little bit of time because this is quite a long project and I didn't want it to take too much time. So then you're going to take your bone folder and you're just going to score it along all of the score lines. Okay, so we're going to take it, score it along all of the score lines. Score it along here. I'm just going to reinforce the ones that I've already done. Like this. Okay, now the box is going to close like this, and these are going to be the pieces. Now I always tend to close my box first and then look at it so I know exactly what I'm doing. So we have got these pieces which are going to this piece is going to be the piece that tucks in. So you want your narrow part up at the top, and you want the part without the narrow part down at the bottom. And these pieces we are going to cut straight up. So let's just cut straight up these ones. I've got some large scissors because it makes it easier. But I never cut things quickly. I always try to do them quite slowly. And when you're making them, it's easier to see how you're working. So if we now look at this, this is how the box is going to go together. So we don't need this piece. You can see this is going to be a tab. We're not going to need this piece, so we can cut this piece off. So that piece can come off completely. So let me just cut that in on there. Like that. Okay, so that is our bottom piece. And then when we look at it, when it goes together, you can see that this will tuck in like this. This will go round, and then that will form your bottom with this piece coming in. Okay, so that's how our box is going to be. This is going to be our back seam, so we can turn it round this way, and we want this to be our lid. So if we do this and we then open it up, we can see that this piece here, which is this one, we need to take out completely. And I'm just going to double check, because I say check twice before you make your cuts. So we've got this piece coming up here. That's our back seam there. These are going to tuck in, and this is going to come forward. So this piece we need to take out completely. So we can cut this down on this score line right the way up the first two. And cut this up, that one like that. And then that is going to come off. Oops, just get that little tiny bit. There we go. And that's going to come off there like that. Okay, so now if we put it back together again, this is our bottom. That's going to be our back. These pieces we're going to have tucking down, so we need to take these pieces that are here. This piece we don't need at all, so this can come off completely. So let's take this piece off like this, and we'll take that one off that way like this. Probably should have done this with smaller scissors. I've got my snips here, but I thought I'd try these ones like that. Okay, so we've now got that piece. Okay, so this is the piece that's going to stick down on here. Put it up again, and you can see these pieces we need to, let's take this one down as well. So we need to cut this one out. I will show you it all once I've cut it out. So this piece needs to come to here. Like that. And then these we can, I'm just going to reach over for my snips because it's easier for this bit. So these two pieces here, we're going to cut them along that score line, and we're going to cut a little piece off as well because we don't need all of this. So we're going to cut it to about there, like that, and cut the other one exactly the same to about there. Okay, so those are our only pieces of waste. Now, what we can do as well is we can, to make it run a little bit smoother, we can do a little bit of a wedge. So we're going to wedge this very slightly down on here. And all that wedging does is that it helps the box to close a little bit neater. Okay, so we can take that one out. We can go in on here and we can take a little wedge out of this. And when you're making boxes, it's one of the things that it doesn't matter if you take a little bit of extra time in doing it, because where you've got your score lines, if you take those little pieces out, it then just gives you that little bit of extra. So we've got those two wedges on there. This piece on here where it's going to flap in, again, I'm just going to take a little tiny wedge out of it. So not a huge amount, but just a tiny little bit. So you can see they're more sort of slivers than wedges, but it just helps with the closing, and you'll find that things won't catch. So just take those out. Now you can do them as you're scoring them, when you do them at the beginning. I like to do them at the end because then I know that I've got everything in the right place. Okay, and then this little piece here as well, which is going to be the top that's going to tuck in. I'm just going to take a little tiny wedge out of that. Okay, so you can see we've got little tiny bits of wedge. Now what we're going to do is, this is going to come together. That's going to be our bottom. And we want that coming in that way to the back. And this is going to be our top, which is going to come down and fit in. Okay, so we're going to have some paper to go on, and you can do it beforehand or you can do it afterwards. I'm going to do it afterwards because I think it will be easier to work it afterwards. So we need to glue this piece down because this is the piece that is going to stick. So I'm going to do it with wet glue. You can do it with anything you want. You can do it with tear and tape. You can do it with strong adhesive, but I like doing wet glue because it allows me to go right up to the edges, and it allows just that little bit of wiggle room. So this piece is going to be, we can tuck it in just a little bit like this. This piece is then going to go flat onto here like this, because we know then that it is going to fit absolutely perfectly. So we're just going to put it on there. To allow it to stick a little bit, you can just reinforce it. So before we open it up, I'm just going to, on both sides, just give it a little bit of a cold, and then that now comes up. This bottom bit, we have our seam is, let me find the seam's at the back there, so we need these pieces to go in first, and we need this piece to go into the back. So with the only piece we really need to glue down is this back piece. So let me just put some wet glue in on here. And again, I'm doing it right up to the edges because it's the edges that we need to make sure that they stick, and then just a little bit on the center. And again, you can fold it up and make sure that you straighten it out as you go. So if you hold both of the edges and straighten it, you can make sure that it fits and squares itself up nicely. And then we can take this piece and just smooth it in. Okay, and then that's going to close, and you've got a nice neat little box. So let's put this in, and where we've done our little wedge, we know that it'll close nicely. Okay, so now we've got to sort out decorating it and filling it. So I have taken the new Classic Christmas, which are these papers. You've got them in 3 different colours, and they're 6 by 6, and I've taken all of them in the Sahara sand, and you can make this out of one piece of 6 by 6. So because cutting down a 6 by 6 makes a 3 by 3, so you cut the 6 by 6 down into 3 inches and cut it down into 3 inches. So you've got 4 pieces. 3 by 3 fits like that, so that there's too much space in between. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of Whisper White and I've cut that at 3 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. Okay, so this is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and we're just going to glue this in onto the top. So again, any type of adhesive you want, but I'm using the wet glue. So we can put this in just centered up here like that. So that's a 3 by 3 and a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And we can then put this onto the top like that. So that's the front of our box, and this is why sometimes doing it when you've put it together, particularly if you've got a directional piece of patterned paper, it means that you can get it running in the direction that you want. Okay, the lid's just popped open. It'll be okay once I've got the other pieces on. So that's the first piece. Turn it over. We've got the second piece. Again, this is 3 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. This piece is 3 by 3. So this again is going to go straight onto the center like this. You can line it up with your grid paper. I'm doing it at an angle, as you can see, because it's easier for me to do that with my lights and things that I've got above. Okay, and then we're going to put this onto the other side. And we'll just glue this along here. And then this one can go in on the center of this one. So again, just with the wet glue, it's easier to line it up. And then we can smooth it down. Now you can go inside the box and give it a bit of an extra if you want to, you know, put your hands in and make sure that it's come down how you want it. Okay, now we need to do the 4 sides. So the 4 sides are going to be, you've got your Whisper White piece, which measures, you just measure this, 3 1/4 inches by 1 1/2 inches. So 3 1/4 inches by 1 1/2 inches. And then the piece that goes inside is going to be your 3 inches by 1 1/4 inches. So that goes down, and that's how you can get it out of your one sheet of 6 by 6. Okay, so we're going to put this one in on the center of here. Like that, that's one. And again, if you want to use, you can use any form of glue you want. Wet glue is my favourite because, as I say, it's easier for me to just line it up. That's 2. Get that little bit of wet glue on here, and as I've always said, you don't need to use a huge amount of glue. This wet glue, Tombow, is incredibly strong, so it will hold quite substantial projects and boxes and things together, and it will stick card as well. It is, in my opinion, one of the best glues on the market. So whenever I put an order in, I always end up making sure that I put an order in for some glue, so I've got some of that. Okay, so it's very easy for us to see now that we just want one of these on each 4 of the sides. So very quickly we can put one in on the bottom, like that, and you can just rotate it so that you've got it on each one of the corners. As I say, you can do it when it's flat. I've just found that, as I say, particularly if I'm doing directional paper, it makes it easier for me to just make sure that I've got everything straight. So I tend to always do it, or I do it more often when I've got the box made, because then I can see exactly where I'm lining it up between each one. Whoops, it says me sliding it about. Let's just get that down and straight. And that, as I say, is one of the good things with wet glue. You do have that moment before it's actually committed. So it makes it easier if you're somebody that doesn't always get it straight the first time, which I quite often do. It's one of those things, as they say, when you're on camera, you always tend to make more mistakes than when you're not. Okay, so now we've got our rather nice little box. I've got to find out where the top was. There we are. You've got our rather nice little box all ready and made, and you can then start to fill it with whatever you want. Now, this is where we are going to take the gnome for the holidays, and we are going to create the inside of it. Now, I've already done these to save some time. So what I did was I did them on a sheet and then I fussy cut them out. So we've got the two little gnomes, and I've done 6 of them. I've just made 2 of the cards already. So we've got 2 this way and we've got 2 this way. And this card is just going to have the gnomes on. And we're going to use the different sentiments. So you've got holly jolly everything, and you've got there's no place like gnome. So let's just get a bit of cardstock, which I've got. So these are our gnomes ready to go. We then need 2, and again from one piece of cardstock, you are going to cut some 6 by 3. So if I put this across, a couple of them aren't 6 by 3 because they're what I had left over. So I'm going to take, there we go, those are the 3 that I had left over, and I'll show you what you can do with the bits once you cut it. So you can get 4 out of one piece of cardstock, Whisper White cardstock, and you cut it at 6 inches by 3 inches and then score it at 3 inches. So you've cut your cardstock in half at 3 inches and in half at 3 inches, so you've got your 3 inch by 3 inch squares. Now this is 3 inches by 3 inches, so we're going to take 1/4 of an inch off of this, but we're going to use it. So let me find my trimmer, and we are going to take literally just, see if I'm up in here where you can see. Yes, I am. So we're going to take 1/4 of an inch off of this, so we're going to measure it at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, so we have 2 strips, but we're not going to waste those strips. We're going to use them. So that's one of them. And while I'm at it, we're going to do the other one as well. So this is our 3 by 3. We're going to cut it at 2 3/4. And then we're going to cut it at 2 3/4. Okay, so we now got 4 of these little strips. But as I say, we're going to use each one of them, so there's not going to be any wastage on it. Okay, so we've got our sheet, which is 6 by 3. We're going to put one piece directly straight on top, so we can put that with our wet glue. Now, if you find it difficult because it's flapped over, open it up and you can put it down so that it's flat. You can do that on any card size, so it helps you to line it up and get it straighter, and then you can put it together. So let's find the other one. Is that a, yes, that's the other one. So open it up that way because it's easier. And then we're going to put this piece in on here. like that. So we've now got our 2 card bases. Now the little pieces that are over, we're going to turn them the other way round, and we're going to put them across to just add a little bit of extra detail. So because they're 1/4 of an inch, and when we know that they're exactly the right size, it's very easy to just glue them and just put them about 1/3 of the way down. And because you've got this sort of gritty paper on here, you can sort of line it up. So that's one, and then we can take the other, turn it over, and we're going to do exactly the same with that. The nice thing about our paper is that it's double-sided, and with these sorts of patterns, because it's all specifically one colour, which is the Sahara sand, it makes it very easy to just turn it over, and it's quite a nice sort of stripy piece to run through the other. Oh, now this is just a little bit bigger, so let's just take it to where we want it, turn it up that way, and we'll just snip that piece off there, like that. Okay, so we've now got the start of our card with a nice little pattern and design on it like that. Now the piece that we're going to do on here, we can do the same thing, but this is not going to be exactly the right size to go all the way across. So let me see, one of them is going to be slightly longer than the other, so let's find the one that is slightly longer, which is the 3, and that's going to fit across. So we're going to do exactly the same with this, because we want the inside and the outside. And this is where, when you take a strip off of a 3-inch, the first strip is going to be the full 3 inches. The other, because you've taken the 1/4 of an inch off, is going to be a 1/4 of an inch smaller. So we're just going to put this one in exactly the same thing right the way across like that. Okay, so we're doing the cards and we're doing the top of the box at the same time. Okay, so we've now got those. We've now got our little characters which we've coloured, and all I've done is I've used complementary blends to just colour in. You can use whatever papers you want, you can use whatever design you want once you've got to this stage. Now with the sentiment, we are going to, oops, got a little bit of scrap on there, put my glue out of the way. We are going to, I'm going to have one of them with cut out using the rectangular postage stamp punch. You can do it with anything you want, so I just want it to come to that size, and we're going to use the Holly Jolly Everything, because I think that's quite a fun sentiment. So let's take that one out and just pop it on a block. So we've got Holly Jolly Everything. That, move those out of the way while I do it. So this is just a little piece of the Whisper White cardstock which is left, because when you cut your 6x3s you will have some pieces over which are perfect for doing sentiments, or you can cut them down and make other little notelets or tags with them. So this one is going to come down here like that, and we've got Holly Jolly Everything. We're going to take our punch and we are just going to make sure that it's dried a little bit. Says me blowing. You can line it up so that it's as centered as you can get it on there, and then we can just cut that out. So that's one. And then on the other piece we are going to use the other words which I rather like. Let me just clean this. Have I got my, I'm looking for my scrub. I think I've got it over on the other side, so I won't worry about that. I'm just going to clean it off like this for the moment, and then I can do it properly later on. So let's move those out of the way. I'm sort of getting, my desk is getting a little bit full of things. So that's the first one. And the other one we're going to use is There's No Place Like Gnome for the Christmas Season, which I thought was quite fun. So let's put this one on. Does that say there's no place like? Yes, there's no place like Gnome for the Christmas season. So let's put that up. And this one we're just going to put in on here. So again, I'm just inking it up. I'm using Memento at the moment. You can use any black ink that you want. And we're just going to put this in up on the top like that. There's no place like Gnome for the Christmas season. And you can take your paper trimmer, or I'm literally just going to cut it straight down there like that. There we go. So we now have 2 sentiments for our card, and we've got our little gnomes. And we've also got, we might have to do another one for the, in fact we will, we'll have to do another one for the top. So let me, I've got another little scrap of paper. Yes, I have. I'm going to do another Holly Jolly Everything, I think, because I quite like that for the top. So let me just do this for the moment. I will clean them up properly afterwards, don't panic. But I'm just saving a little bit of time because I know obviously this is quite a long project, but I hope that it will give you some ideas. And I did some of these last year that proved very popular with everybody, so I thought I would do the same thing again and just use the new papers and the new Christmas stamp set. Now this one is going to come into this one, so I'm going to have to put it across that way, aren't I? So I need to have it in this way. So let's just put it there like that. Holly Jolly Everything. Take the punch, give it a little blow to dry it out, and we can then just put it in here and just get it so that it's lined up. Might have it just a little bit higher on there. If it doesn't quite go, you can always put it on a post-it note if you want to, but I think that this is going to be just perfect like that. So we'll have that in like that, give it a punch, and that's going to be our one for the front. Okay, so there's very little waste on this, which I think is very good. So let's start putting some of these together. So we're going to have on the front of the box, we're going to have the Holly Jolly Everything, and we're going to have, I think we'll have this little guy. So these are going to be put down with dimensionals, and I need some minis, which I had out earlier on. What have I done with my minis? There we go. Okay, so let's do the top of the box first, and we're going to put this one down. The words are going to go down just with wet glue. And again, you can decorate these however you want. If you want to look back last year, I can't even remember what I did last year with them, but they're just a lovely little idea. So we're going to put this one in on here, and I'm just lining it up with, because it's got that sort of straight piece, I can line it up with those on there. So we've got that on there, and then I'm going to take my, we want one of these and one of those. So all these three are going to have dimensionals on. So let's take my little dimensionals. The mini dimensionals are really good because you can see here you've got the sort of the top of his little bell on his hat, and it does mean that you can put them down into little areas quite easily without them coming all over the place. So we'll have one down on that sort of little foot there. We'll have another one down on the other side of the foot, and then we can have one in the middle like that. And then on these ones it's the little sort of mistletoe on his hat, hanging down, but as I say, you wouldn't be able to get those in if you had standard dimensionals, which is where our minis really come into their own, because they literally just fit into these little tiny spaces. So again, one where the bauble is, and then I'm going to have one sort of in the middle that way, and then one just sort of down at the bottom. You don't have to need to have too many, but you just need to have enough that it works where you want. Okay, so we've got this one, and we were going to have this little guy like this. And once you've started making them, you can make as many as you want. It will fit quite a few inside. So I'm going to have this one on here like that. Just pop him down. And that's the front one done. Then on our cards, we'll have this one, which is There's No Place Like Gnome. And I need to work out whether, I think probably, will that one go up that way, or am I going to have it this way? Let's have a little look and see. So we've got this part of this hat in here. So I'm just going to put that up fairly near the top. That'll work. Okay, so we know that this one's got to go fairly tight to the top. So, and again, you can put it all up with dimensionals if you want to. I'm just trying to show you an easy way of doing it. So this we want right up against that edge there. Maybe just a tiny little bit of a border in there. And then this one is going to go, let's take this one off. And what I did with these was I literally just spent the evening in stamping them out and colouring them, and then fussy cutting them out, because I think once you've done that part, you've then got your pieces that will just go on there. So this can come over a little bit, so he's going to go down like that. So that's him on. And then this one, we've got the holly jolly everything on here, and this little guy is going to come out that way. Yes, so we'll have, or we could have him, should we have him the opposite way? Yes, we'll have him the opposite way. So you can put your sentiment one side or the other, it really doesn't matter. So let's just do this one, and we're going to put this one in on here. So again, I'm just sort of following the line, and then we'll have him there. Now these you can put little 3x3 envelopes which we sell. You can have them and have them as little notelets or little 3x3 cards, or you can, which I'm not going to do now, but I will show you what you can do. Put that in on there. That's him. You can take a hole punch and put a hole through there, put some ribbon through, and have them as tags on a present. So however you want to do them. So these are two that I've already done. These are two that I did earlier on, and I've just done them the opposite way round. So you've got those ones like that. And then there are the little offcuts that are left. So when you cut your 6x3 out of your sheet of cardstock, you always have a few little pieces left over. So again, you know, why not little bit of cardstock on here, and I'm only going to just sort of show you as an idea. Why don't you literally just make some smaller ones and have some smaller tags as well? So don't waste anything that you've got. And then quite easily, I've only done 4 here, but they will quite easily go inside, and you can see you can do at least 6, if not, you know, that's 4. So you could probably do 12 of them, I think, quite comfortably. If I just put these pieces that I've got over, So that's 4, 5, 6, 7 just in my pieces, which I'll just put inside like that. You can make a whole box full. You don't need to do the tags. You can fill the box with other things that you might want to have, but it makes a very pretty little project for Christmas. And this is going to be my first one of my homemade Christmas with lots of ideas for you. And I'm going to do 25. So keep watching, subscribe if you haven't. And thank you so much to everybody that is always supporting me and always giving me lovely comments. So as always, please stay safe and stay well and be kind. And thank you so much for watching me. Bye-bye.